putting together your own curriculum for high school can feel really overwhelming. At least it was for me. So today I want to share with you what we have used for U.S. history this year. Show you that you really can make it your own. Welcome, I am Tricia, and I am a homeschooling mom to 3 kids, and my oldest is finishing up her 10th grade year. And one of the things I really like about flexibility is, or homeschooling of course, is flexibility. But once it gets to high school, a lot of people feel like they have to stop doing all the fun things that they put together for their kids when they were younger and get serious and buy the stuff that other people tell them is worth high school credit. But the great thing about high school is that you get to decide what is worth high school credit. Now, there are guidelines, of course, about, like at least 128 hours of work for 1 credit and that kind of thing. But how you go about meeting that is really up to you. And so I just want to share with you what we did this year for history. Now, I looked into prepackaged things for the ease of it. And it was like, I liked this from this one and that from that one, and just the story of our homeschool career that I couldn't find anything that I really liked in completion. And so I sat down and decided that I was going to put it together myself. Something I started with was the U.S. history curriculum by Crash Course. And this is kind of hard to find, and if I can find, I think I have all the files, and if so, I will link them down there. Crash Course, you may know, is a YouTube channel that does all kinds of topics, but they do a lot of history. And they put together a curriculum using their videos plus a lot of other resources, and it's really good. But they took it down a few years ago because they were going to redo it. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if they are still or what. But I thought, I really like the channel, we like their videos, etc. So that was what was going to be our spine. And then around it, I was going to use U.S. History Detective, some lectures from great courses, different historical fiction books, that sort of thing. Well, as we started the beginning of the year, realized that Crash Course is fantastic, but it's really heavy reading, a lot of reading, which was not going to work well for my daughter. So we had to revamp it a little bit. So what we ended up with for our spine was U.S. History Detective by Critical Thinking Company. I already did a video about this one, so I will link it up there and down there. And this became our spine. It was going to be a supplement, and it is absolutely fantastic. I won't go into it much now. You can go check it out. But each lesson is 2 to 3 pages of reading, and then about 10 questions from the material, multiple choice and paragraph. It is really fantastic. So this became our spine. She really loved it. And so I thought, okay, fine, we'll make that. We'll switch. So that's our spine. Now, to go along with it, we rounded it out with a lot of documentaries, mostly from PBS, lectures from great courses, historical fiction, speeches from this book called The World's Great Speeches. I got this from Rainbow Resources. I assume Amazon carries it. It's really good. It starts way back in ancient times, ancient Greece and Rome. They have it divided by time periods and by locations. It's fantastic. I think it would be something that I would recommend for most homeschools at the high school level. Not only for the content, but I just think it's good practice learning how to read speeches in different styles. So it'd be great for an English study as well. Anyway, so we had the great course lectures, other documentaries, mostly PBS, great speeches, historical fiction, and then we did some art and music. So a typical week, well, let me say, I divided it down by units. And originally they went along with the units from Crash Course, divided by time period roughly. And so when we switched that, I just kept those same time periods and then filled it in. We would divide the year into 8 sections, or 8 units. And I did not give her like a day-to-day list or even a weekly list. I gave her everything that she needed to do for a unit. And that's how I gave it to her. For her, she's very good at taking that and figuring out her pacing. And so obviously 8 units, roughly 4 weeks a unit. Some of the units went a little quicker and some of them went a little longer, especially now that we're in quarantine. She kind of picked up, since we didn't have outside activities were canceled, she's been doing a little more. So, like I said, roughly 4 weeks for each one. In a unit would include usually 2 to 3 sections from history, from the U.S. History Detective. And then we would do 1 or 2 speeches. She had a historical fiction book for each one. And I did that just because, 1, she enjoys it. 2, yes, it's fiction, but I feel like it could be a good way to give a little more, to make the time period seem more real. So we did that, and then she would do 8 to 10, maybe 12 lectures or documentaries per section, and then art and music. For historical fiction, books she's read include Bold as Brass, Fever 1793, Fly Girl, which is what she's reading right now. She just finished that one. She loved that one. That one's a World War II one. Orphan Train. She really enjoyed that one. That one was one of her favorite books ever, she said. Tree Grows of Brooklyn. She did not enjoy that one. I was going to have her do The Help as a book, but I think we're actually just going to do the movie. Great courses. What I would do is in PBS. So for PBS, a lot of what she did were the series American Experience. Those episodes are usually an hour long, sometimes 2 hours long. And I would just, for each time period, I'd find a couple shows from there. A topic that was in one of the books that she did, or just something else from that time period. But yeah, I would just kind of go through and search and see what I could find. Sometimes they were biographies, sometimes they were events, historical events, scientific events. Didn't really matter, just something to add to it. And then I would do the same thing for great courses. Most of her great course ones came from 2 series, A Skeptic's Guide to U.S. History, Modern History. I forget the exact title. And then the other one, History of the United States, 2nd edition. I believe. The 1st edition isn't on there, but I believe that's what it is, 2nd edition. I will have the links for everything I could find down there. So most of them came from those 2 lecture series, but not all of them. I would just either put in an event to search, or I would something more general like civil rights, or I got specific, I would put in a decade, that kind of thing. And like my daughter enjoys food, so I looked for ones that had food related to different time periods. There's a couple series on great courses that are like historical food ones, basically. So I would look for that. I would, she enjoys pop culture-y stuff, so I pulled through that. For, like for example, the 1960s from PBS, I pulled a show about called Summer of Love, Haight-Ashbury. So yeah, I would pull different pop culture stuff. She enjoys like suburbia, 1950s type of thing. So I found some shows that would go along with that. When you're going to find videos and stuff to supplement history or science or whatever, to really think about what things that they really have an interest in. It doesn't need to tie directly to what they're reading in their text. It's still giving a bigger picture, or it's still adding to the big picture of what was going on in that time period. And so I think if the kid is enjoying what they're watching, they're going to be more engaged, they're going to remember it better. What we did for your sister did not look like what you do in a regular classroom, but she's learned so much, and she's taught me a lot from what she's read. So I know that she's learning. As further we get through history, she can make connections to what she learned before, events from before. And yeah, it's been fantastic. So a little side trail, but really when you are picking books or shows, whatever, just really think about what they enjoy. And so that leads me into the art and music section. My daughter last year really got into art, and so this year I thought something fun to go along with it would be for her to find art that went along with the time periods. So for each unit, she has to find 4 to 6 pieces of art, and I require no repeat artists and at least 2 different mediums in each one. And she goes on to Google Images and searches for the time period, finds some art that she likes. She copies the image into a Google Docs, and then she has to write a few sentences about it, telling me like the name of it, the artist, when it was made, what it's made from, and then a little bit about what it represents, what's pictured, story. If it's a historical event, she just has to give me some details around that, that kind of thing. And so then the last thing I included in her history was NPR's Top 100, the most important musical works of the 20th century. And it was a really cool list. So obviously 100 songs, and so we just broke it down. She has to listen to about 12 songs each unit, and then she picks 3 to 4 songs to share with me. And it could be songs that she thinks are weird or she really likes, whatever. It's been fun for her to explore new artists that she didn't know. And it's been fun for me to see what she's enjoyed and what she hasn't. And each song also has an article to go with it about the artist and the song, time period, what was going on. And so we've included those, not one for every song, but I have her pick a couple articles to read each unit. And so she's going to end up taking, for history, for the final report, she'll take one of those songs and do a little bit of a longer paper about it. And so that's our US history. And I hope that you've gotten some ideas of ways that you can set up your own curriculum and meet your kids' interests and their needs and make it a really fun year for them. My daughter's definitely enjoyed this more than she expected that she would enjoy history this year. And if you enjoyed this high school video, you can click on the playlist on my screen right now and head over to watch the rest of my high school playlist. Thanks for watching.